Hello everyone, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our Profile of the Week from MBA Watch, sponsored by Gatehouse Admissions. Today we have a really interesting candidate. He calls himself Mr. Government Shipyard. He worked for the U.S. Navy. He was a mechanic at a shipyard for 7 years. He's currently interning at a tech company, a Fortune 500 tech company, as an accountant. He has a degree from the University of Washington, 3.85 GPA. His GMAT is 660. He has an interesting range of schools that he's applying to. At the top of the hierarchy is Stanford, but then it's Columbia, which is his first choice school, a Chicago Booth, and then the University of Washington's Foster School of Business. So today, for our assessment, we have Rachel Nelson of Gatehouse Admissions. So Rachel, what do you make of this guy?
So I like him. I really like his very non-traditional background. And I thought it was interesting to take a look at somebody who we might not normally see.
Yeah.
So starting with the positives, he's got a high GPA from a good school.
Yes.
And I think he's got a really unique perspective to bring to his classmates. So I think that's great for him. As you mentioned, his internship, as an accountant, that's great, particularly given his interest in moving into investment banking. But I would say for him, it's going to be about highlighting his achievements and then highlighting leadership, both on his resume and in his essays. His challenge, I think, is pretty straightforward. That's going to be his average GMAT score. I would suggest that he retake it, especially given that what he wants to do is such a big pivot from what he's done. Right. His top choice is Columbia. I think it is a good fit given his goals, and a couple of things that might help him out here. First is, if it really is his top choice, I would have him consider applying early action and really show them the love. Second thing is, he might consider doing the executive assessment. It's just another path for him to consider.
Now, business schools love military candidates, but the elite MBA programs tend to go for people who are graduates of military academies like West Point. This guy strikes me as a real blue-collar kind of guy. I mean, he was basically a mechanic in a Navy shipyard. Is that a plus for him in this case? Because, as you pointed out earlier, maybe he's, that puts him in a slightly different military bucket, and one that actually might, in some ways, be more desirable for a school.
I went to Wharton with a number of people who actually hadn't graduated from any of the academies, but just actually were in the military, because these business schools like leadership. So that's what I would want to see from him is, what has he done? He has had 7 years, a long career. What can he point to in terms of how he led people? In terms of your point about the blue collar, I think it's interesting. I mean, I said that from the beginning. To me, the unusual background is beneficial for him. Again, if he can really tell his story.
Now, what about the goal? Okay, so investment banking for someone with this background, is this someone who an admissions official could see working at a JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, a Goldman Sachs, or not?
This is, to me, where his internship is so crucial, because he's showing this transition from kind of white collar, or from blue collar to white collar.
Right.
He's going to have to convince them. That is the question. And especially, I would say, with this lower GMAT, right? So, that he's going to have to answer the question, can he do the work in business school? And can he be positioned to have the job that he wants after? So, given how he did in undergrad, given kind of what he's told us of his work history, I don't see why he can't, but it will be incumbent on him to connect the dots from one to the other.
So Rachel, let me ask you the inevitable question. If he sits on his 660 GMAT and applies to Columbia, what are his odds? And then if he can get his GMAT up, let's say 30, 40 points, 690, 700, how does that change his odds?
So I think with his current score, he's probably at about a third, so 33%. If he can boost his score, maybe it gets to 700, maybe it's 50%. I mean, what I would say is, to some extent, to me, him retaking the GMAT is showing them that he knows that he didn't get the score that he needed to get. Ideally, he would achieve above a 700. I know you said 700 is probably the max. It probably is. But I would say if he takes it and doesn't get a 700, gets a 680, I would really push him towards this executive assessment and then towards those schools that will take it. Right. My other thought in terms of schools, you mentioned he's looking at Booth, Stanford, and Foster. Given his career goals, I would probably swap out GSB. I'm not sure that it's such a great fit given what he wants to do, given his GMAT. It's just, as everybody knows, incredibly competitive. But to me, Stern might be a better fit for him. Probably also more realistic. And it also accepts the executive assessment. So he could kill a couple birds with one stone.
Great advice. Rachel, thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, there you have it. A lot of candidates don't have the GMAT score that's kind of in a pocket for a school. The tough love advice is retake it until you get a better score. But another alternative here for Columbia and NYU Stern, at least, is taking the executive assessment, which is a 90-minute test. By all accounts, it's a lot easier than the GMAT. And if a school is willing to take it, and he's sitting on a 3.85 GPA in finance, so certainly he has math and accounting courses on that transcript with good grades, so that should help a lot too. All right, you've been watching our MBA Profile of the Week, sponsored by Gatehouse Admissions. Thanks for watching.